Minerva. Welcome to today's sew-along video. Today I'm going to show you how to make the Lunar pants by Made by Ray. The Lunar pants are a super comfy loose-fitting pair of pants. They have a tapered leg, 2 inseam pockets and an elasticated waistband and cuffs. This pattern is very simple to follow, so I'd really recommend it to anyone who's new to sewing or anyone who hasn't made pants before. In this video I'll be talking you through each step of making the Lunar pants, so by the end you should have all the tips you need to make a cosy pair of your own. The Lunar pants pattern includes sizes XX small to extra large and plus sizes 1 to 5. They're designed to come to the ankle, but you could easily change the length of the pattern if you wanted them to be a bit shorter. For this pattern you'll need 2 to 3.5 meters of fabric depending on your size and the width of the fabric that you're working with. If you're not sure how much fabric you need for your size, there's a handy guide on the back of the packaging to help you work it out. There are lots of fabrics that would work nicely for this pattern. The pattern recommends a lightweight woven fabric such as a cotton or linen blend, or a stable knit fabric with up to 30% stretch like jersey. We've got a massive range of all of these fabrics available in a great range of prints and colours, and today I'm using our Yard Dyed Cotton Chambray fabric in the navy colourway. This is a very fine fabric woven from 100% cotton. As you can see, the warp threads are a lovely deep blue, and the white wefts running through them create a really nice variation in tone, quite similar to denim. Even though this fabric's very lightweight, it's got a tight weave so you can't see through it and there's no need to double it up or back it onto anything heavier. This makes it absolutely perfect for our Lunar pants. You'll also need some thread. I'm using Good Amand's 100% polyester thread in the colour 521. As you can see, this is a great colour match for my fabric. If you'd like to use thread that matches your fabric, remember to click the Add a Matching Thread box on our website when you add your fabric to your basket. For the waistband and cuffs, you'll need some 1 inch wide elastic. I'd recommend getting about 1 to 2 meters of this, but when you open up your pattern, there's an instruction booklet which tells you exactly how much elastic you need for your size. We have waistband elastic available in packs and by the meter, and today I'm using a pack of woven polyester elastic by Hemline. Then you'll need your standard sewing tools, so a domestic sewing machine, some pins, some fabric scissors, some paper scissors and some thread scissors, a large safety pin, a tape measure, some tailor's chalk and some tape. We'll also need an iron and an ironing board, and it's also good to keep an unpick on hand just in case we make any mistakes. And if you like to finish your seams with an overlocker, that's optional as well. The first step is to cut out our pattern pieces. The larger pattern pieces have been split up into sections to save paper, so before we start we need to cut these out and stick them back together. Trim one of the sections down along the dashed line, and then join the semicircles on the matching section and tape them together. Cut all of the pattern pieces out in your size. We should end up with 5 pattern pieces in total: the front pants, the back pants, front facing, back facing and the pocket. Then we can take our fabric and fold it in half with the right sides facing each other. If you're not sure, the right side is the side of the fabric that will be seen on the outside of your pants. whereas the wrong side is the side that will be hidden on the inside. Start pinning your pattern pieces to the fabric. Make sure that the arrow on each pattern piece follows the grain lines of the fabric. You can see the grain lines really clearly on my chambray fabric. They're just these vertical lines that run down the length of the fabric, parallel to the selve edge. We'll need to cut the front pant and the back pant pieces out twice to make up the two legs. But we've made life a little bit easier by folding our fabric in half, as we can cut two mirrored pieces out at once. Cut around each notch. Then cut 4 copies of the pocket piece, so you've got 2 for each leg. And then place the front and back facing pieces right on the edge of the fold, so that when we cut each of them out, we will have 2 long symmetrical pieces. After you've cut both of the facings out, give the folds a quick press with your iron to mark the centre points. Now that everything's cut out, we can start putting our lunar pants together. The first step is to attach the pocket pieces to the front and back pant pieces. So take a pocket piece and pin it to the side seam of one of the front pant pieces. Make sure that the right side of your pocket is facing the right side of your pants and match up all of the notches on both pieces. Then we can head to the sewing machine, select a medium length straight stitch and stitch the pocket piece in place, leaving 3/8 of an inch of seam allowance. Finish the seam allowance with your preferred technique. I'm using my overlocker today, but pinking shears or zigzag stitching would work just as well. Then press the pocket and the seam allowance away from the pants. Repeat these steps on the other front piece, and then we'll do exactly the same for the 2 back pieces. Pin the pocket piece to the side seam, matching up all of the notches. Stitch the pieces together. Finish the seam allowance. And press the pocket and the seam allowance away from the pants. Now we have the front pants with pockets and the back pants with pockets ready to sew together. Once we've attached the pocket pieces to the front and back pant pieces, we can sew the side seam and the pocket seam. Take the front piece and the back piece for one of the legs, and pin them together at the side you've sewn the pocket to, matching up the top and the bottom of each pocket. we're going to stitch the two pieces together except between the top and the bottom of each pocket. So head to the sewing machine, do a little back stitch to secure your thread, and stitch from the top of the pants to the top of the pocket, leaving a ½ inch of seam allowance. Leave a gap for the pocket and then continue stitching from the bottom of the pocket to the bottom of the pants. You can see here there's a nice spacious gap for the pocket, so we just need to join the two pocket pieces. Pin the pocket front and the pocket back pieces together along the curved edge. And then starting at the side seam, stitch the two pieces together. As you can see, we've stitched right through the seam allowance and left the top edge of the pocket open for now. Finish the seam allowance on the curve. And then we'll head to the iron and press the pocket and the seam allowance towards the front of the pants. Make sure that the top edge of the pocket is parallel to the top of the pants and hold it in place with some pins. Then repeat all of these steps on the other leg. The next step is to construct the centre seams. Take your two leg pieces and place them together with the right sides facing each other. Pin the pieces just along the front and back curves to make the centre seams. Then sew both of these seams together, again leaving a ½ inch of seam allowance. Then we'll press the seam allowances open. And then finish this seam allowance with your preferred technique. The last seam for the main part of the pants is the inseam. Match the front and back centre seams that you've just sewn together and pin along the whole length of the seam. Head to the sewing machine and stitch the inseam together, leaving a ½ inch of seam allowance. Take the pins out and finish the seam allowance. then take your iron and press the seam allowance towards the back of the pants. That's the main section of the pants finished. Now we just need to add the waistband and the cuffs. For the waistband, you'll need your front facing piece and your back facing piece. We're going to sew these together to make the waistband. Pin the facings together at the two shortest edges. And then stitch down each of these lines, leaving your 1/2 inch of seam allowance. Press the seam allowance open with your iron. There's no need to finish this seam allowance because it'll be hidden on the inside of our pants. Now take your tailor's chalk and your tape measure, and on the lower edge of the band, which is the edge with no notches, mark a line 1/2 inch away from the raw edge. Then fold the edge up at this line and give it a press with your iron. We can now attach our facing to the pants. Turn your pants so that the right side is facing out. And pin the unfolded edge of the facing to the top edge of the pants. Match up all of the notches and the side seams and make sure that the right side of the facing is facing the right side of your pants. And then we can stitch the band in place on our sewing machine, leaving 1/2 inch of seam allowance. Next we will press the seam allowance and the facing upwards away from the pants. And we're going to trim this seam allowance down to about 1/2 its width. And sew a line of understitching about 1/4 inch away from the seam. This will keep the facing nice and snug on the inside of the pants and stop any stitching from showing on the outside. Turn your pants inside out so that the wrong side is on the outside. Then flip the facing so it's on the inside of the pants and give it a press. Now we can pin our facing in place. The folded edge should cover the raw edge of the pocket that we left earlier. mark a 1 inch wide gap at the centre back, which will be the opening for our elastic. And then head back to the sewing machine and starting at one edge of the gap, sew a line of edge stitching right the way around until you get to the other side. This will give us a sturdy casing for our elastic. We will use a very similar method to make the ankle cuffs. Take your chalk and tape measure and mark a line 1/4 of an inch away from the raw edge on the bottom of each leg. And fold the edge up at this line and give it a press with your iron. And then mark a second line 1 1/4 inches away from the fold. Fold the edge up and press again. Pin the fold in place. And as with the waistband, we'll mark a 1 inch wide gap at the inseam for the elastic to go through. And yet again, starting at the edge of this gap, we'll sew a line of edge stitching right the way around until we get to the other side. Then repeat these steps on the other leg. All that's left to do now is to thread the elastic through the waistband and the cuffs. You'll need 3 pieces of elastic in total, 1 long piece for the waistband and 2 shorter pieces for the cuffs. As I mentioned earlier, you can work out the size you need to cut your elastic to using the size guide on the back of the instruction booklet. We'll start with the longer piece. Attach your safety pin to one end of the elastic and feed it through the channel you've made in the waistband. When the elastic comes out the other side, pin the 2 pieces together with an overlap of about 1/2 inch. And then stitch the ends together with a couple of lines of straight stitching. Tuck the elastic inside the waistband and stitch the opening shut. To give your waistband an extra bit of stability, we can stitch a little line at the side seams like so. This will stop the elastic from rolling around when you wear it. That's the waistband finished, and now we can do exactly the same process for the cuffs. Take one of your shorter pieces of elastic and attach your safety pin to the end. Then feed it right through the casing. Pin the 2 edges together, again with an overlap of about 1/2 inch. And then stitch the 2 ends together with a couple of lines of straight stitching. Tuck the elastic inside the cuff and stitch the opening at the inseam closed. Then repeat exactly the same steps to finish the second cuff. And there we go, we've made our lovely pair of Made by Ray's Luna pants. They look absolutely gorgeous in this cotton chambray, and I think they'll make a really great addition to your wardrobe. I hope that you have lots of fun making your Luna pants. Let us know how you get on in the comments down below, or post a photo of your make with the hashtag LunaPantsPattern. As always, all of the materials used today can be found tagged below the video, and if you'd like to see a tutorial for any more sewing patterns, let us know in the comments down below as well. Thank you for joining us today, and be sure to follow Minerva for more videos soon. See you next time!